have faith in God is not a stagnant state, it's a journey. As a believer, we should grow in our knowledge of God and His Word. Walk with Alan Cutting and many other believers as together we walk the believer's journey.
Aloha, and welcome again to the believer's journey. I want to let everybody know I disappeared for 2 weeks or so because I did not have any internet where I was traveling to. But now that I'm here, we're actually recording from the capital city, Chisinau, from the Republic of Moldova in Eastern Europe. So it's good to be here. We are here at KBC Ministries. This is where the church is. This is where the Bible seminary is, where I taught and so forth. And before we begin, we're going to talk about living a balanced life. But before we begin, I want to thank everyone who has prayed for our ministry, who has supported our ministry, who prays for our ministry, who subscribes and watches. So thank you again. And I want to introduce my guest. My guest is Alexandr, I call him Sasha, Gherman. Hello.
Hello, Alan.
And Sasha was one of my, actually the first time I came to speak and teach at the Bible seminary, he was one of my first students.
Yeah, it was almost 10 years ago.
Probably, yes. And I know that some people don't want me to say this, but he's probably one of my star students. He's excelled in life. He's excelled in the ministry. He's excelled in when he was going to school. And he's someone to be very proud of. And I think very highly of Sasha.
Thank you, sir.
So Sasha, when he graduated from the Bible seminary, and I'm not sure if you started before this, but you work here at KBC Ministries. Now, KBC Ministries is, explain what all of the ministries and what works here at KBC.
KBC Ministry is a church, and KBC Church, Chisinau Bible Church, and we have a Bible seminary that prepares students, prepares young people and older people for effective ministry around the world. And we try to serve and influence people in Moldova and outside of the country. And we have a camp. We have all kinds of ministries helping other churches to start, to plant, and we just doing as much as we can, as far as we can, and trying to stay faithful to the Lord.
Okay, I know that when I've come here to teach at the seminary, in speaking to your president Eugene, he explained to me that the tuition for the seminary, at least at that time, for many years, there's no cost for the tuition. Is that still true today?
Yes. Students do not pay for their education. If they are good students, sometimes seminary would even award them for having good grades.
Okay, and what I also remember, during break times, like during the summer, they would always have to go on a mission trip?
That's true. That's required by seminary to go somewhere on mission trip. It was even needed to go outside the country and have a ministry somewhere, like short term. We're talking about a week or two. But right now, in this COVID situation, whenever you cannot travel, it's lighter, it's easier, and then you can serve in your church or do something in Moldova. It's not required. It's in usual times.
Yeah, and I know that speaking to some of the students, I think they've gone to a couple of countries that may not even be real safe to go to. Is this true?
Yeah, and I don't know if we can talk about that openly, the names of the countries, but
I understand that.
Yeah, we go to Asia and Eastern countries that probably would not be as open and as safe and as easy to get to. So Moldova has access to those countries.
What I really like about KBC Ministries is that there's real ministry, not just, it doesn't just look at what they can receive, but they really give. They give in a lot of areas.
Yeah, our pastor Eugene is giving this vision for several years already. Whenever we have to look at ourselves not as those who receive and receive and receive. It was time when we were mission field for Americans to come and help us to start something, to do something. Right now, we are looking at ourselves as a place where missionaries can be prepared and be sent out also. And we are talking about those places where American missionaries cannot go, and that would be not as easy for Westerners to go. So right now we are working with those countries. Here in Moldova, we are helping other churches to be planted, to be started. We are preparing pastors. We are supporting them. We're praying for them. We are going to places. And for example, this summer we went to south of Moldova, and we had the team that helped another church to do children camps for the children. And then we had another team that would go. I led the team that would go to the south of Moldova, and we did youth camp. And right now, one of the pastors from north of Moldova came to our pastor and said, like, I have to move back to the capital, to the city, and my church doesn't have a leader. And is there a possibility to go and help me with that? So when he moved here, and right now he's a student of seminary, and when he moved back, we decided that two people from the church and two people from his church who moved here, we would take turns, and we would go, and every Sunday we would go to North Moldova and preach there, and wait until local leader would raise. Then we get the boxes that are made for Christmas boxes, and we put them in front on the stage of the church, and we invite all the church to fill those boxes. It's something like Samaritan box, but it's Moldovan. It was made in Moldova, and we get from that ministry empty boxes that our church is filling them. So there are a lot of things that we are trying to give away, to help, to invest, to do.
Yeah. Now, I attended a church recently for many years, and from what I understand, our church helped purchase, I guess, a camp for KBC. And you are the youth pastor, correct?
I am a teen ministry director. Sometimes I'm called youth pastor, but officially I'm just youth ministry director.
That's all you are. So, because I remember when you had to fix benches and fix everything up because to make it safe.
You mean at the camp?
Yes.
Yeah, we actually purchased an old Soviet camp. Mm-hmm. And we had to actually rebuild it totally from scratch. And every year we would take off old like 30, I don't know, maybe 50 years old little cabins, and we had to rebuild them. And I was a roofer. I had to learn by going. Mm-hmm. And we had Americans who would come over and work side by side with us, and we rebuilt that camp, and we're using it like every summer whenever it's possible. Right now it's impossible because of COVID situation, so we have not been using it as much as we used it like previous years.
Now, how much does it cost for a teenager to go to camp?
Usually, I don't know full price that it would cost us for teenager to take him to the camp, but we encourage them to pay it like $30, which would be just a small part of what it costs us to take a teenager.
Mhm.
So that would be their appreciation. That would be they would feel that they invested something, because if you take people for free, they do not feel that
Yeah.
it's theirs. And the rest of money we usually we ask our partners to help us with. And if a teenager from vulnerable, like socially vulnerable family, and they do not have the money, I ask them to approach me personally, and usually we resolve the problem. Somebody from the church would say, "Hey, I would like to pay for that kid." And like 2 years ago or last year, one family just said, like, we would like to pay for that amount of kids.
Yeah.
So we have families that just donate for that.
Now, I know this was true a couple of years ago. I talked to one of the pastors here, and they were saying that if a teenager were to invite 5 other teenagers, that teenager gets to go free.
That's correct. That's correct. That's how our advertisement company works. The teenagers invite teenagers, because if I am old guy show up at the school or show up in somewhere where teenagers are hanging out and say like, "Hey, let's go to the camp," these teenagers would look at me like that's something like suspicious. But whenever their classmates approaches them and says like, "Hey, I've been to this KBC camp or Restart camp or Upgrade camp," it's names of the youth and teen ministry, and they would say like, "Hey, it's so cool there, and those are people that they are nicest people, and they really care about us. They really prepare, and everything is so good, and would you like to go with us?" And so whenever he gets 5 people who've never been to our camp,
Mhm.
he goes for free.
And so from what I understand from this also, talking to this pastor here, is that you basically have about 75% of the teenagers that come to camp are not Christians.
Correct. We have some church kids that go to our camp, and we encourage them to bring kids from their neighborhood, from their like wherever they live,
Right.
wherever they study, from their school, maybe from their, like whenever they go to sports, like invite your friends, your friends. So that's how it works.
So if I'm looking at your camp situation from outside looking in, I would see in my perspective that your camp is more, or is not, let's go and play all kinds of games and have fun. That's thank you for the week, goodbye. It's more ministry, and it's reaching out to many people who don't know the Lord.
That's correct. That's the goal. We have those kinds of camps in Moldova that they would just go and play there and just have fun. And you know what? Kids prefer our camp more than those camps, because kids like to stay busy all the time. That's first. Second, they would like to learn something, and we teach them the Bible, we teach them English, we teach them some lessons, and we really care about them, and they can feel it. And we teach them the Christian songs.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's really cool because in the United States, it's more having fun, and it's a little bit of the other. And it's very expensive in the United States. There's camps now for churches that are $350, $400 a week. And that's just so much money. It's hard for me to understand. I wanted to mention something that was really cool. 2 things. Last year, so I have a class I teach every week, and people basically know this. And when we had COVID, and we couldn't meet, I had a Zoom. Okay, so my Zoom class was about 10 in the morning in Texas, and it was probably 6 o'clock in the evening here in Moldova. And you came to the Zoom class many times.
Yeah.
And it was wonderful. I mean, it made me so, honored me so much that you were there so often.
Yeah, I like to listen to what you're talking. I like that you dig in the Bible and you research the words, the original words that are there. And yeah, I'm kind of person who would like to take experience of people who are somewhere where I would like to get, like pastors,
Gray
like.
hair.
I actually have some gray hair. You cannot see it, but that's not the goal. I am saying about experience, about knowledge, about ministry, and I've been in your house, and I've seen that you're doing this ministry. I mean, with teaching this Sunday class, and I've seen you doing the business, which means that you understand how it works and how, like, I heard about your book. And so I see you as an experienced person, and I respect you, and you invited me, so I felt like, okay, I should come.
You're very honoring. I appreciate that. One thing I want to say to my audience is that Sasha is really unique. I think this is after you graduated from the seminary. It might have been during, I don't know, but you started to teach, research and learn Hebrew on your own.
That's correct. It was like 3 years after graduation in 2015. My wife and we visited Israel, and we got very impressed. And so we tried. Okay, let's see what is that. So we tried to. I started learning words, and then I found out that in Russian there are so many Israeli, like, Hebrew words, and it was so easy for me to learn them because I knew them forever, and I didn't know that they are from Hebrew. Mm-hmm. And then I found out that the words that are in the Bible sometimes are pronounced differently from what it's in original. Like, for example, Bethlehem or Beit Anya or Bet Shemesh. Those words are not pronounced like that in Russian. And in Hebrew, it makes sense. But whenever you just transliterate them or translate them, sometimes they lose its sense. And the names of people, they make sense. Like, for example, Yeshua, Jesus. In the Hebrew, Yeshua literally means salvation. So whenever people were calling Jesus, they were saying, salvation, would you save us? Correct. And so every name, every word in Hebrew has a deep meaning, and there's a reason why it's there. So yeah. I got so much into that I could not stop.
Well, it was really nice. In fact, it was refreshing, because when I was teaching my class and when I brought in Hebrew idioms and analogies and words, I would double check with you and say, is that correct? And you would, yes, that is correct. It was really nice, because then I had somebody to confirm what I was teaching was accurate.
Oh, thank you.
That was good. Well, it's good to have that. It's good.
Yes.
So anyway, I was, another thing I want to let my audience know, when there was a point several years ago that we wanted to support KBC Ministries, mostly probably the seminary. And I went to Eugene, he was president at the time. He still is president. He's actually graduated from the seminary years ago. I mean, now he's president. But anyway, I went to him to ask him where I should help giving to. And this might embarrass you. Mm-hmm. So I said, where do you want me to give? He says, oh, it doesn't matter. I said, no, where do you need it? And he stopped and says, actually, if you really want to give, I want you to give it towards Sasha. I said, really? He says, yes, we can't afford to lose him. He is so good. That is something to be to know this should have high esteem to you.
Yeah, that's encouraging whenever people appreciate your ministry, whenever they want to invest in it and they believe in it. And financial situation, financial part of ministry is is something that is also there. And in our culture, for some reason, we are taught it's not appropriate to ask people for money. That's why I'm like usually not asking. And that's why sometimes it's difficult financially in the family. And whenever somebody else, like our president, our pastor, Eugene, he would go and say like, hey, he will never ask you himself, just go on and send him some support, or just go on and help him financially. That's a great blessing, because I would probably never ask you for for any support.
Now, I know last year during the coronavirus shutdown, when everything, your country, my country, all over, we couldn't go anywhere in a lot of places. But you did something so unique with your teams, and it had to do with going to the park. Tell us the stories, what you did.
Yeah, the main story is that our government would not allow to meet into a church or any building, but it would allow people to go on fresh air, which is the park. And here, not far away from here, there is a park, and the park is, it has a fence around it. So it's safe. So there are no cars, no dogs allowed, and everybody has to buy a ticket to get into the park. It has gates, and it's kind of protected. It's a national or city park. That's botanical park. So we thought every kid can pay, would that be like 50 cents for to enter the park? And we thought, like, if we get like $10 or $15 from the budget, and church gives us the budget to each ministry every month, that we would be able to pay for the kids who cannot afford that, because some kids cannot. And those kids who can, we would welcome them. So we would come into the park, and we would put blankets, and we would make games whenever the kids with the leaders would run around the park, and we would make special stations there that they would have to visit and make a picture with something on that station, or do something with their hands, and whoever comes back first gets the prize. And every week we would create a new game, and then they would spread on the grass, and I would teach the Bible. And actually the guards from the park already knew that these guys are showing up at Saturday, and they're gonna be on that area of park, and they're gonna play, and they're gonna talk about something. And even if some kids would show up later and they would have no money to enter, I had an agreement with guards that you just let them in, and whenever I'm leaving, I'll pay for everyone. So that was it. And second thing that we did, we purchased several bikes, like bicycles, and we would take the kids who have the bicycles, and who do not have the bicycles, they would take one from the church, and we would ride the bicycles, and they would do several circles around the park, like 2 or 3 miles, and then they would get tired. They would just lay on the grass with the bicycles, and then we would read the Bible, and I would explain the chapter. So that would be with the boys mostly.
Yeah, and I just think that's, people in the world need to hear this, that there's people like you who are actually active and concerned about, discipling and people who they're working with to really understand who Jesus is and to walk in that relationship. And I think I appreciated hearing that you did that. It was just really cool. So
thank you.
I want to say online hello to your wife. You've got a beautiful, lovely wife, wonderful daughter. She's nuts. She's fun. But if anyone who would like to support you, I'm going to have available a link on YouTube and also on my website, thebelieversjourney.net, if you care to go to our website. And I'll have a link there available for people to click on it to see about you, and if they want to donate, they can donate. It'll be available.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
No problem. I believe in you.
Thank you.
So we're going to change gears here. We're going to talk about our topic. Our topic is living in a balanced life. And you and I talked about this the other night. And I think that I spoke about this somewhat. I was this keynote speaker with Campus Crusade a few years ago. And I talked about these missionaries and ministers, how they need to have a balanced life in their ministry and their family. Because too often, you would know this, and I know this, we're in ministry, sometimes a church or where you're serving gobbles up so much time you don't think about, because your mind doesn't think, you're not balancing your time with your family. I mean, I'm sure you've experienced this. I have.
Not long ago, somebody posted on the Facebook a phrase that I just was thinking for it for several weeks, maybe 2 months already. It's like you have to learn to rest, not to quit. Mm-hmm. And if you think deep enough, some people are working, and they do not understand that it's exhausting them. And if you do not take a pause at period of time, sometimes if you do not take your pause every week, every day, like little pause every day, bigger pause every week, and maybe a vacation once a year, maybe twice a year, there's gonna be a time when you just say like, I quit.
Well, they're finding in the medical field that, it's important that you take a day of rest every week. They're finding that people, as you get older, I guess close to my age, I don't know, maybe younger than me, that those people who work all day and evening and all weekend, they're the ones that usually have heart attacks and strokes. They tend to have more health problems, which is interesting because, God puts it in the scriptures that we work 6 days and we need to rest 1 day. He worked 6 days and he rested on the seventh day. And it's a balance. There's a balance between what we do and how we need to take care of ourselves as well.
That's how we were created.
Exactly. And I think that's important because there's too many people that don't realize this, and either they lose their lives physically, or they lose their lives somewhere in the midst of everything is so busy, or they lose their families or their children, and it makes it real difficult when you don't work with a balanced life.
Yeah, it depends what price you want to pay.
Yeah.
And sometimes the price is too high. And I'm talking if you are working too much, maybe you're making a little bit extra. But if you lose your health because of that little bit extra, you're gonna spend much more to recover.
Either you're going to spend much more on medication, much more in the hospital, or much more in the grave. It's one of the three.
Yeah, so that's not what you would like to pay.
There's a passage, and today I get to use my phone as my Bible because when I travel, I don't usually bring my Bible along. And so I want to read this. This is in Psalms 37, and I'm going to read the first 7 verses. So those of you who follow along, Psalms 37, 1-7, it says this: "Do not fret because of evildoers, nor be envious of the workers of iniquity. For they shall soon be cut down like the grass and wither as the green herbs." And here we start this one process. It says, "Trust in the Lord and do good, dwell in the land and feed on his faithfulness. Delight yourself also in the Lord, and he shall give you the desires of your heart. Commit your way to the Lord, trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass. He shall bring forth your righteousness as the light, and your justice as the noonday. Finally, rest in the Lord, and wait patiently for him. Do not fret because of him who prospers in his way, because of the man who brings wicked schemes to pass." Now, I noticed that it says, "Do not fret" more than once. But there's a book that I read. It was written back in the 70s. It's called Cycle of Victorious Living. And it was like this circle, And at the top of the circle, you have these things that came down, 4 of them. and their circle is broken up into 4 slice pieces, like a pie almost. And it would say, first we commit. So we commit to the Lord, whatever it is, your life, your family, a situation, looking for a job, whatever it might be, you commit something or your life or something to the Lord. And then the next part, you go from there to you trust. You trust in God. You trust that He has given to you, what you committed, and He will take care of it. And then the third part is you delight. You delight in what God is going to do and what He's doing. And then finally, you just rest. You rest in the Lord. He's got it taken care of. This is perfect balance. And, I don't find a lot of scriptures that speak directly to what we're talking about, but we can find things here and there in the Bible. And this is one of them that talks about balance. What do you think?
I was thinking about one passage in the Bible in the New Testament, and I was thinking about that for a whole day. And it describes Jesus and his disciples in a boat, and the storm comes. And guess what Jesus is doing?
Sleeping.
He's sleeping. And they're trying to fight this storm, and they're trying to save their lives, and they're doing something, and it's like trying to work hard, and nothing helps. And then they say, like, Jesus, what's going on? Why you don't even care about that? It's like, and he calms everything. And he said, like, where's your faith? So sometimes in our life, it feels like God doesn't care. But it's like, if you try to worry about something so much, would it help?
Yeah, no.
Sometimes I get worried so much that my stomach aches. Sometimes I worry so much that I cannot sleep at night. In my experience, it doesn't help. It makes it worse, because in the morning, instead of waking up energized and ready for to resolve the problem or whatever is happening or whatever is prepared, I wake up like, oh no, the problem was not resolved yet, and I did not sleep, so I'm so weak. And so whenever you're balanced, you do your best, and then you give everything else to God and say, I did my part. Now help me with your part.
Well, exactly, and that's why this passage in Psalms, I think, is so important, because I made a comment about it, how it says fret more than once. And in this book that I read, it says, if you committed something to God and you trust in Him, all of a sudden you start to fret, you start to worry about it. It's like you zing off. And what this man says is that you go back and you recommit that to Him, and you try to make that cycle to where you're resting in your decision. That God is God and God will take care of things,
Correct. Because like it's at night, sometimes I'm thinking about it and rethinking. And I pray, God, no, I cannot do anything about that. It happened, or it's gonna happen. And now it's your turn. You please take care of that. And then you just pray it and you start thinking, like, what if I did this? And what if I did this? And what shall I do tomorrow? It's like, no. Just give it to God. And tomorrow is going to be new day, new problems. And you cannot resolve all the problems in one day. Just rest.
Like it's when your turn to preach at church, you should take your advice.
Yes, correct. And I'm not very good in that. That's something that is challenging for me. So last week I was preaching about being active. That's about me. I am waking up and I've got 100 ideas or 100 plans to do, like in the ministry, in personal life, and and helping people. And somebody would call me like, hey, could you help with that? And could you drive there? And could you do that? And yeah, sure. And that's easy to be active for me. But whenever you have to say, excuse me, but if I do that, I'll not sleep tonight, or it's my family time, or I have to rest. And whenever it comes to that point, I'm not like that. So sometimes my wife would step out from our bedroom at 10:30 and says like, "You should go sleep. It's time to rest. Just stop." So that's the balance that I'm trying to reach, and that's what I'm gonna talk next week or this Sunday, and hopefully I can learn from myself and apply that in my personal own life.
You know, it's interesting. I heard a pastor say once that us married guys, you know, a lot of times God's voice sounds a lot like our wives. So, and you know, it's good to take their advice, you know, some, because I think they do watch out for us.
Yes, God gave us good helpers.
Yeah,
at least us.
Oh yeah, at least us. Which brings me to another thought. You know, in Genesis, chapter 2, verse 18, it says that God saw that Adam was lonely and alone, and it wasn't good for him to be alone, so he made him a helpmeet, a partner. And I really believe that God watches out for us. And I think looking at Adam, he made him Eve, which what completed him. It balanced his life out. And we today, I think sometimes we don't recognize that. We don't look at that as a balance. We just see it. I don't know if we look at it as we don't think about it, or it takes it for granted, but really our partners, our wives, you know, they balance us out. And God gave that to us in the very beginning in Genesis.
I heard two ideas that I liked about wives. One of ideas says that behind every great person there is a great wife. Because if you read somebody's book, like appreciation or preface, they would always start with their wife. Thank you to my wife for patience and help and advice. And the second idea that I really like, and I see that's coming true in my life, is that if you are doing something correct, according to the Bible, according to God's will, your wife is your helper.
Mm-hmm.
If you are doing something wrong, your wife is your, help me find this word.
I'm going to be careful on this one. My wife watches these programs.
Corrector, or so it says like if you are doing correct, she'll help you. If you are doing some wrongdoing, she'll stop you.
She'll let you know.
she'll let you know for sure.
And it's really good because even in Ephesians, when Paul talks about Ephesians chapter 5, he says, wives, submit to your husbands as unto the Lord, which really shows a sense of honor and respect. And it says, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church. And we know that Christ is the head of the church, but Jesus himself said that I came not to be served, but to serve. So if we love our wives as Christ loved the church, we are those who serve. And our wives are those who honor and respect. Again, it's that balance that brings us, because as us men, we need to be respected. It's just something that God made in us. Women need security and to be loved.
Wow.
And then that's the perfect cycle or parallel to what God created for us.
And somebody told me, just notice that Jesus loved us and forgave us first. Mm-hmm. So as a husband, even if you feel like you are really right and it should be done like you want, and your wife does not agree, you have to listen to her. And if we feel that you are right and she is so wrong, you have to forgive first. That's responsibility. It's something not easy to do, not easy to ask.
Well, and we men walk around with big egos, and we don't want to be told we're wrong or anything like that. So
But there is a balance. Balance. Somebody actually left a book on the shelf for in the office where I work, and the book says find the word of your life. And and actually, I found the word on the cover, and it was saying balance. So I opened the book, and I thought it's gonna be about balance, and then I could not find where's the chapter about balance. So I closed the book, and then I looked at the book. There were so many different words were written on the book, but I found just one. And they're saying like, okay, I found my word. So I didn't read the book yet, but that word just jumped out of the book.
yeah.
Balance.
I think it's really, really important. I have friends that they are so busy in their business or they're so busy with their work that they're always late for appointments or late for meals or late for somewhere because they're not balancing their life. They're rushing with one focus and not bringing in everything as a whole. And one friend of ours, a dear friend of ours, I mean, they're at this point even having health problems because they're not balancing their life. And I think that's important to recognize. And so as I mention this to them, they're realizing, you're right. It's, well, we need to do something about this. We don't want you to, go see Jesus too soon.
Yesterday I was talking to Pastor Sergey, and I told him that I'm gonna talk about actually the name of the sermon is gonna be called passiveness or be passive. And I said, like, if you have any materials, anything, just send it to me so that would make this sermon better. And so he sent me a couple of Bible verses. And in the beginning of all this message, it was saying like, can you find in the Bible where Jesus was in hurry? And then you won't.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just remembered about Jesus's friend Lazarus when he got sick, and all this people came and said like, Jesus, hurry up and go and heal the Lazarus. And 4 days or 2 days.
Well, he waited a couple of days. A couple more. So
yeah, and then he was asked like, if you would hurry up, if you would come, then you would probably heal him. But now he's there. Just like, no problem. We resolved that.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing that Jesus was more laid back. He did take his time, and yet he had a mission, and he was able to complete what he did in the 3.5 years that he was in the ministry. So, I think it's important to recognize this. We get too busy with life. I mean, look at the parable where it talks about the seeds. You have the seeds in the ground, but you have the ones where the weeds are, and you get all tied up, but you're getting so going and going and going that all of a sudden the seeds choke you out. And I think that there's warnings in all the teaching there about living a life that is balanced, that is proper, that it does, like Jesus says, don't worry about tomorrow. You have enough to worry about for today. I mean, we don't think about these things. And yet all these things in our medical science today is saying that this is important because it helps our lives be more healthier physically, medically. Well, God obviously knew this thousands of years ago when he created us because he gave us this pattern of being balanced.
Yes, and from this medical perspective, probably there is another thing that I heard that whenever you're resting, whenever you are sleeping enough, your brain actually is filing the information that you heard, that you learned during the day. And if you do not sleep enough, you're not gonna remember. So I had a he was not my classmate. He was a student at seminary, and I was almost ready to graduate, and we were living together as like fourth year and first or second year students at the same place. And I remember that he would study till late night, and he would fall asleep with this book. And in the morning, if you ask him what you just read,
You didn't know.
he didn't know because he was too tired to read. And sometimes you have to make special time for reading. And if you feel that you're not remembering anything, if you are just doing because you have to, or you had too much to do today,
Yeah.
just go on, rest, wake up, and and try whenever you're rested.
And even more than just medically, I've always have taught for several years now that it's important to take your day of rest, the day you use as the Lord's day, to not just for an hour of church service, but you take the day because you need that not just physically, but you need it mentally, you need it emotionally, you need it spiritually, so that you are balanced in every way of your life, so that you start the next week, refreshed, that your mind isn't going off somewhere, you're forgetting every little thing, and you're too tired, and you don't have a good connection with God because you're just not resting. And I think it matters in every area of your life, not just medically and not just spiritually, but every other way.
Yeah, and you know what else I noticed, that's difference between our calendar. I mean, in ex-Soviet Union, or like this area, we start the week from Monday.
Mm-hmm.
In US, the week starts with Sunday, like whenever you look at the calendar.
Right.
So you rest one day, and then rest it. You keep going during the week. Here we work, and then whenever we are exhausted, we just rest a little bit. So I like the idea. And in Hebrew tradition, the day starts after sun goes down in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
So they start the day with resting. So they just rested, got ready, strong, balanced, and then they can go into the new day.
Yeah.
Active.
And it's interesting that I've always wondered about our calendar. It starts on Sunday, but really almost everybody I know in the United States starts their week on Monday. Monday you go to work and you have a weekend. Saturday you do whatever. Sunday's the end of the week. You kind of start all over Monday. So even though Sunday's at the beginning of that calendar, in our minds, it's the last day. It's the seventh day. Monday is the day the week starts. So it's kind of weird.
Let me tell you something. Because here in KBC, for most of our staff, Saturday and Sunday are ministry days, and we are kind of busy. Like for me, Saturday is one of the most important days in the week, because we have the ministry, the teenagers show up, and we get like around 30 teenagers here, and we have to prepare all the program. I mean, we prepare it during the week, and we have to run the program, and then I have to teach their Bible lesson, and then we have to clean after ourselves. And so I come home like at 6 and something sometimes. And Sunday is our ministry day also, because I'm preaching at the church, like for example this 4 weeks. But whenever I'm not preaching at the church, I am teaching the kids. I'm teenagers, and so I leave my home at 9, like closer to 10, and I come back after 2. So it's not rest, it's ministry.
It's your work day.
Yeah. So that's why our administration, our pastors, decided that those who are so busy on weekend, they have their day off during the week. Like for example, Monday. So like Eugene and Sergey, I think, and myself, we have Monday day off. So I really start the week with day off. So
that's nice.
So everybody, after Sunday, everybody goes to work. I stay home, I sleep a little bit more, and then I wake up and I eat and I sleep again if I need more rest. Mm-hmm. And then I can do something like at the house. So yeah, it's my day off.
Yeah. Well, for those of you who are not familiar with the country, Republic of Moldova, I've been talking about coming here for the last few months now. I made these plans months ago, and you need to know this is the poorest country in all of Europe, both Eastern and Western Europe. And the people struggle financially. However, there's something that I'm totally in love with this country. I love the fact that the people are warm, they're considerate, they help one another, they care about one another. They may not have a lot of money, they might not have a lot of fancy clothes, they might have a lot of fancy telephones, but other than that, they're poor, but they're there for one another. And they really, the people that I'm involved with, whether it be for Young Life or Campus Crusade, I guess call it Crew or KBC Ministries, those are the three I work with, I can see pure ministry. And to me, that touches my heart so deeply. And that's why I love to come here. And I would never think about going to a different country ever because of the heart that I see that these people have for reaching out to others. The people that I work with, it's interesting, with Crew, for example, they're not people from the United States that have come here. These are people who live here, who decided that they want to be ministers and to their own country. And you're one of them in your own ministry. And I just think that I want to let everybody who's our viewer to understand that this is an amazing, amazing country. If I were to move somewhere other than the United States, this would be the place I would move to. My wife, she would tell me no, but that's what would happen. She has grandchildren, so it makes it tough. Anyway, we're rounding this up. It's nice to be here. Next week, we'll do another program here in Moldova. And it's so good to have you on my program. I really do appreciate it. I'm so honored that you are here.
Thank you. Спасибо. Mulțumesc. Toda raba.
And a mahalo and aloha.
Alan Cutting and the Believer's Journey radio program seeks to teach the Word of God in a clear and practical manner. For more information, please visit the podcast page at am630theword.com.